Welcome to week 2, y'all. One of the readings that you had for this week focused on how to write a research question, which is a required element of the research proposal project. This video will go a little bit more in depth and give some examples of what you can do to write a research question. Ballpoint presents a research question as part of the research process, which it is. Often, this process can begin by doing some preliminary thinking and research. You may start with reflecting on your experiences with Ball State. Where have you seen an opportunity for change? What sorts of changes would make for a better student experience? Once you've identified something you're interested in, you can start to do some reading. What exists out there already to solve the problem that you're seeing at Ball State? Maybe you'll find inspiration from other universities, or maybe you'll need to look into other types of sources. You don't need to read in much depth right now, just enough to get an idea of what kind of information you're able to find. Remember that for this project, you'll need to write about 4 sources in the annotated bibliography, and for the research paper, you'll need 6. So you can start to find those now. So now you've identified a topic and you've found enough sources to know that there's information out there to research. Next, we move into actually writing the research question. There are a number of elements that you should look for in an ideal research question, and the Writing Center at George Mason University offers some useful information online about it. I'll link to it in the description of this video, and it's not required reading, but if you'd like to take a look at it, it'll be there for you. They say that the research question should be clear, focused, concise, complex, and arguable. This may seem like a tall order for a single question, but they're all things that work together. When your question is clear, that means it's narrowed down, but not to the point that you can't find any research. When you've got something specific, that makes it focused. Remember, your question should be something that you can write 2,000 to 3,000 words about later. So I wouldn't want to say something like, how would shortening the length of an academic semester change Ball State students' lives? That's not clear, and it's not focused, because I'm not indicating anything specific. How much are you proposing the semester be shortened by? What sorts of change would you expect for students? Are you looking at the emotional dimension, the academic, something else? Concision can be tricky, and it's something that I tend to struggle with personally. However, when seeking to make your research question concise, look for places where you can cut some words. What filler have you included? Are there any details that are better suited to fit into the proposal somewhere else? Remember, you should write one question and one question only. So asking something like, if Ball State shortened the length of a semester from the current length of 16 weeks down to 15 weeks, which would be 1 week less of classes, would students feel happy, sad, annoyed, or indifferent? That's including way too much detail. So we can cut some of those extra words and make it more concise. Because you can be concise and still be complex. When we say that your research question should be complex, essentially that means that it shouldn't be a yes or no question, and it shouldn't be a question that you already have the answer to. So asking a question like, is it good to shorten the length of the semester, isn't specific enough, and it's close-ended, which means that it's not complex enough. Finally, you want the research question to be arguable. You'll be arguing for it in the research paper eventually because it turns into your thesis. So this could be a situation where you phrase your research question around the solution that you're looking at or that you're interested in. So something like, how would changing to a 15-week semester improve the lives of Ball State students could be a useful research question. You can argue for both the 15-week semester and you can argue about its benefits for students. So, in sum, you'll want to start with reflection, do some preliminary research, and then when you come up with an idea, write your research question. You'll want to make sure that your research question, again, is clear, focused, concise, complex, and arguable. So, although we tend to recognize research questions as more of an academic thing, you still develop research questions in everyday life. So think about it. Every time you Google something, you're asking a research question. By developing effective questions, we can make it easier for ourselves to find answers. By developing effective questions, we can get more specific results. And so sometimes the things we look up might be goofy. I had a student last year who got really into researching cows and their physical capabilities, just because they thought it was funny to like pull out random cow facts when conversations lulled. So that could be a research question that you're looking into. But sometimes we need to do research on something more serious or more important, like what kind of car is best to purchase based on your needs and financial situation, or what the expectations are for a job that you would like to apply to. Having effectively developed research questions, whether you're typing them into a search engine or asking the people around you, is going to help you get better information. So as far as making connections go, thinking about how to concisely and effectively communicate a question is something that we can use in our academic, personal, and professional lives to get more specific and useful answers. If you have any questions as you start to work on developing your research question for this project, please feel free to ask something on the Catch-All discussion board, email me, or set up an appointment with the Writing Center.